There was a time when Russia was a no-go country for most of the West after the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. We managed to do energy business with Russia. Now we understand our imports from Russia slightly lower than what they were in 21 and 22, and we're back to the Middle East. Question is oil cheaper from Russia? Are we able to address the Asian premium on the Middle East oil?
First of all, since you wanted this to be a tough interview, let me be candid in response. The only duty a democratically elected government has in oil diplomacy, it's to its consumer. It's a moral duty. The democratically elected government has to ensure availability, has to ensure affordability, and it has to ensure sustainability so that we make that transition to green energy. In respect of all three, our relationships, whether with countries in the Gulf, the major suppliers there are UAE, Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Kuwait, whoever they are. The marketplace is a dynamic place. One day I may buy a little more from you, next day I may buy a little less, a little more from someone else. You talked about Russia. Can you imagine that when I was a young joint secretary on the Americas desk, I would never have imagined that we'll buy $20 billion of energy from the United States. What we buy from Saudi Arabia is also about $35 billion only. But US is going up. Saudi Arabia could go up. Why do we buy from one and not the other? At the end of the day, the only thing that is a determinant of where you will buy from is the price at which it is delivered to your port. And by virtue of the fact that there is geographical proximity with countries in the Gulf and nearby, freight and shipping costs being less, some of them give you discount, some of them don't. As a sovereign nation, I don't think any of us, certainly not the highest political leadership, will tell the others, please don't do this, please give us more discount. It's a function of the marketplace. And I think the price sensitivity of energy imports translates itself into volumes very quickly. That's been my experience, and I can share with you, Navika ji, February 2022, Ukraine. At that point of time, our imports of oil from Russia, or the Russian Federation, were only 0.2%, 0.2%, not even 1%. Why? Because transporting oil from, let's say, a geographically far-off place, I'm not saying Russia, any place, is just that much more expensive. All right, we have $16 billion, I think, worth of investments in Russia, Sakhalin. We produce oil there, I think 20% or something that. But it wasn't worth it transporting it from the Far East into India. We sell it there and sold on the international market and, goes to the consuming place. But when that situation changed and the West, particularly Europe, decided that they imposed, let's say, certain restrictions on energy exchanges with Russia, 2-3 things happened very quickly. Oil coming through the pipeline to Hungary was exempt. Oil going through the pipeline to China was exempt. Far East from Sakhalin to Japan was exempt. We found ourselves one of the few countries which had no exemption. But we had something which is much bigger than an exemption. We have a market. Please remember, and I'm going to use your hospitality to drive that point home, a large market like India, which consumes 5 million barrels a day, our ability to navigate in order to ensure availability and affordability has an impact on the producer also. So what we did was, when somebody decided to offer us a discount, we took the discount. When those discounts were healthy and competitively priced to offset the freight disadvantage, we took advantage of it. When those discounts went less, discounts from another Middle East suppliers went up. Iraq is a case in point. Iraq became the largest supplier. Look, we are not in this business to tick off boxes. We are in this business, as the Honorable Prime Minister has made, we owe a duty to our consumer. India was one country in the world where petrol and diesel prices over the last 2 years, reference period, didn't go up. They went up 30-40% on an average elsewhere. India petrol prices came down 5%.